My daughter-in-law slammed the door in my face at my grandson's birthday party. She told me I wasn't family, that I wasn't wanted. I stood there holding a gift I'd spent weeks choosing. 2 days later, she couldn't stop calling, begging, crying, desperate. And for the first time in my life, I didn't answer. Want to know what I did instead? If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Because what happened next changed everything. For all of us. But let me back up. My house is small, clean, light comes through the kitchen window every morning. I have a wooden table by that window. That's where I drink my coffee. On the shelf, there's a photo album. Old one. I opened it that morning, 3 weeks before the birthday. Turned each page slowly. My son's wedding photo. Tommy as a newborn. Me holding him, smiling wide. Then after that page, blank. Nothing. 3 years of blank pages. I used to ask Sarah to send pictures. She'd say, "I'll send them later, Mom." Later never came. I live alone now, my husband's gone. David is all I have left. When Sarah first joined the family, I thought it would be good. I really did. But slowly, I started noticing things. Every time I visited, Sarah would straighten things after I left. I once saw her wipe down the door handle after I touched it. Their house was perfect, spotless, everything in its place. No signs of living, just signs of displaying. And me, with my old shoes, my grocery store tote bag. I didn't fit that picture. Sarah never invited me to stay for dinner. There was always a plan on the days I wanted to visit. "We're busy this weekend, Mom. Tommy has a play date. We need family time." Family time. But wasn't I family? I closed the album and looked at the calendar. My grandson's name was circled in red. I had circled it myself 3 weeks ago, with hope I didn't know was foolish. The day came. I got there on time, wore my good blouse, brought the gift. A dinosaur toy set Tommy had been asking for. I wrapped it carefully in newspaper, tied a red ribbon around it. I knocked, waited. Sarah opened the door. Her face went cold. "What are you doing here?" I held up the box. "It's Tommy's birthday. I wanted to." She cut me off. "This is for family. Go away." I stood there, frozen. Past her shoulder, I could see inside. David stood far back, holding a wine glass, staring at the floor. He didn't step forward, didn't say anything. I tried to catch his eye. He wouldn't look up. Sarah blocked the doorway. Her hand gripped the handle tight. Behind her, I saw it all. The party table, perfect. Pastel balloons, dinosaur cake. Everything arranged just right. Clean, beautiful, like a magazine. And me, standing there with my newspaper-wrapped gift. I didn't belong. I tried one more time. "I'm his grandmother." Sarah's voice dropped, low but hard. "He doesn't need you here. We're fine without you." The door slammed. I stood on the porch, heard the birthday music start up inside. Tommy's voice. "Who was that, Mommy?" Sarah's voice. "Nobody, sweetheart. Just somebody who got the wrong house." I set the gift down on the step, looked at it one last time. Walked down, slow, one step, then another. Got in my car, sat down. My hands shook when I reached for the keys. I looked back through the rearview mirror. Warm yellow light from the windows, shadows moving inside. The gift still sat there, alone. Wet newspaper and faded ribbon. David never came out. I drove home in silence, and for the first time in years, I let myself ask, what did I do wrong? The question haunted me for days. The years rolled back in my mind. Where did I go wrong? I raised David alone after my husband got sick, worked 2 jobs to pay for his college, sat up nights by the hospital bed, skipped meals so he could have enough. He grew up, got successful, got married. At first, it was good. Sarah called me Mom, asked for recipes, invited me to dinner. Then Tommy was born. I helped, watched him when they needed, cooked, cleaned. But slowly, Sarah started pulling back. "We need our space, Mom. We have a routine now. It's easier without visitors." Tommy gets confused when too many people are around. Each excuse sounded reasonable, polite, final. David said nothing, just stood next to his wife, silent. I started calling less, visiting less. Told myself I was respecting their boundaries. But the truth was simpler. I had become inconvenient. The day after the birthday, I sat on my porch, drinking tea, staring at nothing. My neighbor walked by. Linda, 70 years old, sharp eyes, doesn't miss much. She stopped, looked at my face. You look like somebody canceled Christmas. I tried to smile. Didn't work. She sat down next to me, didn't ask permission, just Saturday. I told her about the birthday, the door, the word, nobody. She listened, didn't interrupt, didn't offer empty comfort. When I finished, she was quiet for a minute. Then she said, "You know what I see? A woman who gave everything and got used to asking for nothing. I don't want to cause trouble." Linda laughed. Not a nice laugh. "Honey, you standing on that porch yesterday. That wasn't trouble. That was dignity. And somebody took it from you." She told me about herself then. Her daughter cut her off for 2 years after Linda remarried. Said Linda was choosing a man over family. It took 2 years before we talked again. But I didn't beg. I just lived. And when she needed me, I was ready. Linda stood up, put her hand on my shoulder. "You still got fight in you. Don't waste it on guilt." She left me with this. Sometimes the best thing you can do for people who push you away is let them see what it's like without you. I sat there long after she left, staring at my empty hands. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was time to stop apologizing for existing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table, opened my old notebook, the one where I'd written everything about my family over the years. Birthday dates, David's favorite foods, stories Tommy told me. I read each line, realized something. I'd spent my whole life caring about other people. But who cared about me? Then I stood up, walked into the kitchen, poured water into a glass. My hand shook, water spilled over the edge. And suddenly, I threw the glass into the sink. It shattered. Pieces flew everywhere. I stood there, breathing hard, eyes hot. Then I saw my hands. They were shaking. I sat down on the kitchen floor. What am I doing? This wasn't me. I wasn't an angry person. I didn't want to become someone full of bitterness. I got up, got the broom, swept up the pieces. One piece at a time, careful. Like I was gathering myself back together. When I finished cleaning, I washed my hands, looked at myself in the small mirror by the sink. My face looked tired, older, but it was still me. Better than this. A decision formed then. I wouldn't call anymore, wouldn't text, wouldn't show up uninvited. Not because I was angry, because I had self-respect. If they want me, they know where I am. I started doing things for myself. Signed up for a painting class at the community center. Called old friends I'd been neglecting. Started painting my living room, pale yellow, like sunlight. Planted flowers in the backyard, the ones my husband used to love. Each day that passed, the weight lifted. I stopped waiting for the phone to ring. Stopped asking myself what I'd done wrong. I started sleeping better. Started smiling more. Some nights, I still wanted to call David. But I put the phone down. Not yet. Not like this. I remembered throwing that glass. Remembered the shame after. I won't let them turn me into someone I'm not. I didn't know it then, but that silence, the one I chose, was about to become the loudest thing in their lives. Day 1 after the birthday, I woke up early. Decided to live for myself. Went to the store. Bought flowers. Bought paint supplies for the living room. My phone rang. Sarah's number. I looked at it, let it ring until it stopped. Felt strange, but I didn't regret it. Day 2. Morning. I was making coffee when the phone rang again. Sarah. I didn't answer. A voicemail. "Mom, I need to talk to you. Can you call me back?" Her voice was still cold. No apology in it. I deleted the message. By noon, 5 missed calls. 3 texts. "Mom, please pick up. I need you to watch Tommy this weekend. Why aren't you answering?" I turned off notifications. Afternoon came. I was painting the living room wall. Yellow, warm, like the sunlight I wanted in my life. My phone buzzed non-stop on the counter. I looked down. 12 missed calls now. David was calling too. I hesitated, but I didn't answer. Not yet. Not like this. 7 p.m. I imagined what was happening at their house. Sarah sitting by Tommy, trying to bring his fever down, not knowing what to do. I'd been there once, alone, scared, with no one to ask for help. But I had my husband then. Sarah had David, but David was at work. Sarah was alone. I wondered if she was thinking about her own mother, the one who died, the stepmother who was gone, and now me, the only person left who knew how to care for a sick child. Not there anymore. 8 p.m. The phone rang again. Number 18. This time, David's voicemail. Mom, please. Tommy's sick, really sick, high fever. Sarah's freaking out. We need you. Please call back. His voice sounded panicked, real panic. I stopped painting, put the brush down, steadied my breathing. Listened to the message again. Tommy, my grandson. If I went now, everything would go back to how it was. I'd be the person they only called when desperate. But he was sick. 9 p.m. Call 23. Sarah again. I let it ring. 10 p.m. A voicemail from Sarah. Her voice was different this time. Mom, I'm sorry. About the birthday. About everything. Tommy's fever is 104. Hospital said to monitor him. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Please call me back. Her voice broke. She was crying. For the first time, she called me Mom and meant it. I could hear Tommy crying softly in the background. I sat down at my kitchen table, looked at my phone. 25 missed calls, all in 2 days. I imagined Sarah right now, sitting by Tommy's bed, wiping his forehead, hands shaking, not knowing if the fever would break, wanting to call her mother. But her mother was dead, wanting to call her stepmother. But she'd cut her off years ago. And now me, the only one left. Alone, just like she'd made me feel. I looked at my phone, 25 missed calls, and for the first time in my life, I had the power to decide when, and if, I'd answer. Morning of day 3, I woke up at 6. Hadn't slept all night, kept thinking about Tommy. 6:15 a.m. My phone rang again. Sarah. I looked at it. Let it ring until it stopped. Call number 26. 10 minutes later, another call. David this time. I stared at the screen, watched it ring. Call number 27. She couldn't stop, even now, even after everything. But I could hear it in the pattern. This wasn't anger anymore. This was fear. I couldn't take it anymore. 7 a.m. I called David back. He picked up on the third ring, voice exhausted. Mom? How's Tommy? Fever broke around 3 a.m. He's sleeping now. Silence on both ends. We managed. Sarah stayed up all night with him. I'm glad he's okay. Are you coming over? Do you want me to? Yes, we do. Sarah does. I took a breath. I'll come, but things have to change. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not a backup plan. I'm not someone you call only when you're desperate. If I come over today, it's because I choose to, not because I have to. I understand. Does Sarah? She will. I got in my car, made chicken soup before I left, packed fever medicine, herbal tea, drove to their house. When I pulled up, I saw it immediately. The gift box, still sitting on the front step. Still there. 2 days later, wet from rain, newspaper soaked through, red ribbon faded and limp. Heavy, like my heart had been 2 days ago. I got out, walked up the steps, bent down, picked up the box. Sarah opened the door before I could knock. She looked terrible, hair messy, face pale, eyes swollen. She saw me holding the gift, stopped. I didn't know it was still there. Tears ran down her face. I held it out to her. This is for Tommy. It's always been for Tommy. Sarah took the box, gripped it tight. I'm so sorry. Her voice broke. I didn't say anything, just walked past her into the house. Tommy's room was down the hall. I went straight there. He was asleep, face flushed, breathing steady. I put my hand on his forehead, warm but not burning anymore. Sarah stood in the doorway, watching me. "Thank you for coming." Her voice was hoarse, small, real. "He's my grandson. Where else would I be?" In the kitchen, I heated up the soup, made tea. Sarah sat at the table, silent, the gift box in front of her. I put a bowl down in front of her. "You need to eat. You can't take care of him if you don't take care of yourself." Sarah looked at the soup. Tears fell. I didn't know what to do. When the fever kept going up, I panicked. I sat down across from her. "I know." She finally looked at me. "I'm sorry. For the birthday, for the door, for everything. I'm listening. I was afraid. Afraid you'd take over. Afraid Tommy would love you more than me. Afraid I wasn't enough. I let that sit between us for a moment. You are enough. But you can't do this alone. I know that now." Silence. "Can we start over?" "We can try." David came into the kitchen, looked at both of us sitting there. Not angry, not tense, just tired, and maybe hopeful. "Is everything okay?" I smiled at my son. "We're getting there." I stayed that day. Not because they begged me, but because for the first time I was invited. Not needed. And that made all the difference. Later that afternoon, Tommy woke up, saw me, smiled big. "Grandma!" He hugged me tight. "I missed you." "I missed you too, sweetheart." Sarah and David watched from the doorway. Sarah wiped her eyes quickly. After Tommy fell back asleep, Sarah asked if I could stay for tea. We sat in the living room, just the two of us. David took a walk to give us space. "Can I tell you something?" Sarah's voice was quiet. "Of course." She took a breath. "My mom died when I was 9. Cancer. I'm so sorry." One day she was here. 6 months later, she was gone. And I didn't get to say goodbye. She was in the hospital. They said I was too young to visit, so I never saw her again. She stopped, wiped her eyes. A year later, Dad remarried. This woman moved into our house, changed everything, threw away Mom's things, said we needed a fresh start. I hated her for that. Sarah looked at me. "And when you came into our lives, when Tommy was born, I saw it happening again. Someone new, someone trying to take a place that wasn't theirs." I didn't say anything, just listened. "I'm not here to take your place, Sarah. I know that now, but I didn't then. All I could see was someone who might replace me, someone who might be better at this than I am. No one can replace you. You're his mother. But being a mother doesn't mean doing it alone." Sarah cried, not loud, just quiet tears. "My stepmother. I haven't talked to her in 15 years. I cut her off completely. And now I'm wondering if I did the same thing to you." I reached across, took her hand. "The difference is, I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere." After she finished, we sat quiet for a while. Then I said something I'd been thinking. "Have you ever thought about reaching out to her?" Sarah pulled back. "What? No. Why would I?" "Because maybe she's still waiting, like I was." Sarah stood up. "It's not the same. Isn't it?" She turned away. "You don't understand. She tried to erase my mother." "Did she? Or was that what it felt like to a 9-year-old who was grieving?" Sarah went still. "I'm not saying she was perfect. I'm not saying she didn't make mistakes, but neither did I. And you gave me a second chance." Sarah sat back down. "I don't even know where she is. Do you want to know?" She hesitated. I don't know." "That's okay. You don't have to decide today. But I want you to think about something." "What?" "What if one day Tommy grows up and pushes you away because he doesn't understand? What if he cuts you off for years? Would you still be waiting for him to come back?" Sarah's eyes filled again. "Of course I would." "Then maybe she's waiting too." Sarah didn't say anything else that day, but I saw something shift in her eyes. A door just barely cracked open. A week later, I couldn't stop thinking about that conversation. Sarah hadn't mentioned her stepmother again, but I couldn't let it go. I remembered David once mentioning where Sarah grew up, a small town 2 hours north. I decided to do something Sarah wasn't ready to do. I would find her stepmother myself, not to interfere, just to understand. I found an old wedding invitation in David's things. Sarah's father's name was on it, Robert Miller. I called the post office in that town, asked if they had a forwarding address for a Robert Miller. The woman said he'd passed away 3 years ago, but there was still mail being delivered to that address, to a woman named Helen Miller. Helen, Sarah's stepmother. I got in my car the next morning, drove 2 hours north. Small town, quiet streets, old houses. I found the address, a small house, old but cared for, flower garden in front. I sat in my car for 10 minutes. What was I doing? Then I got out, walked to the door, knocked. A woman answered, maybe 60. Thin, tired eyes. Can I help you? My name is Margaret. I'm Sarah's mother-in-law. She went completely still, then her eyes filled with tears. Sarah? How is she? She invited me in. The house was simple, clean, and on the wall, I saw them. Photos of Sarah, as a little girl, framed, dusted, cared for. You kept her pictures. Helen nodded. Of course I did. She's my daughter. But she cut you off. She did, and I understand why. She made tea. We sat at her small kitchen table. Helen told me her story. When Robert married me, Sarah was 9. Just lost her mother. I tried everything. But she hated me. Everything I did was wrong. Her father, he couldn't look at his first wife's things without breaking down, so he put them away. Not me, him. But Sarah blamed me. I tried to explain, but she was a child, in pain. She needed someone to blame. Helen opened a drawer, pulled out a box. I wrote to her, every year on her birthday, for 15 years. She showed me the box. Letters, all returned to sender. I opened one. Dear Sarah, I hope you're well. I think of you often. No anger, no blame, just loneliness. Why didn't you stop? I asked. She smiled, sad smile. Because that's what mothers do. We keep trying, even when it hurts. Then Helen told me something that changed everything. I have cancer, lung cancer, stage 4. My heart stopped. How long? 6 months. Maybe less. Have you told Sarah? How can I? She doesn't want to hear from me. I looked at this woman, alone, dying, still loving a girl who'd cut her out 15 years ago. What if I could help? What if I could bring her to you? Helen's eyes filled again. I don't want to force anything. If she doesn't want to see me, she wants to. She just doesn't know it yet. Helen reached across the table, took my hand. Thank you, for coming, for caring. I left with that box of letters, 20 envelopes, 15 years of trying. And I knew Sarah needed to see these, before it was too late. I looked at those letters and thought, Sarah's been running from a ghost for 20 years, and now the ghost was dying. If I told her, would she finally face it, or would it push her further away? I invited Sarah to my house for tea a few days later. David dropped her off, said he'd pick her up in an hour. We sat at my kitchen table, the one by the window, morning light coming through. I made chamomile tea, put out cookies I'd baked. Sarah seemed nervous, but she came. Thank you for having me over. Of course. We drank tea for a minute, quiet. Then I pulled out the box. I need to tell you something, and I hope you won't be angry. Sarah looked at the box. What is it? I went to see her. Sarah's face went pale. Who? Your stepmother, Helen. Sarah stood up. Her chair scraped back. You did what? I needed to understand why you were so afraid of me. Sarah turned away. You had no right. You're right. I didn't. But I did it anyway, because I love you, and I love my son, and I couldn't watch us fall apart without trying. Silence. What did she say? I told her. Everything. About the photos on the wall, the letters in the box, the tea at her small kitchen table. Sarah sat back down. She kept my pictures? Everyone. Framed, dusted. She looks at them every day. I pushed the box across the table. She wrote to you. Every year on your birthday. You never got them because you moved. But she tried. Sarah stared at the box. Didn't touch it. What did she want? Nothing. She just wanted you to know she was thinking of you. Sarah's fingers trembled on the box. I opened the top envelope. Read the first line out loud. Dear Sarah, I hope you're well. I think of you often. I'm sorry we couldn't find our way to each other. I hope life is treating you kindly. Love, Helen. Sarah looked away, blinking hard. She pushed the box away. I can't. Yes, you can. No, you don't understand. She tried to erase my mother. She threw everything away. I took a breath. Your father threw those things away, Sarah, not Helen. He couldn't look at them without breaking down. Helen tried to stop him. Sarah went still. That's not true. It is. Helen told me. Your father was drowning in grief. He thought putting things away would help him move on, but it just made you angrier. Sarah put her face in her hands. Why didn't anyone tell me? You were 9, and grieving, and angry. Nobody knew how to reach you. She cried. Not loud, just shaking. I waited. When she looked up, her face was wet. Why are you telling me this now? Because she's dying. Sarah stopped breathing. What? Cancer. Lung cancer. She has 6 months, maybe less. Sarah stood up, walked to the window, looked out. Why does it matter? She's a stranger to me. Is she? Or is she someone you've been running from for 20 years? Sarah turned around. What do you want from me? I don't want anything. I'm just giving you the truth. What you do with it is up to you. Silence. I stood up, walked over to her. I know what it's like to be shut out by someone you love, to wonder what you did wrong, to keep trying even when it hurts. Helen is alone. She's dying, and she still loves you, even after everything. Sarah's voice broke. I can't face her. You don't have to, but if you don't, you'll carry this forever, and maybe you'll keep pushing away people who love you because you're afraid they'll leave too, like I did to you. I put my hand on her shoulder. You're learning. That's all any of us can do. Sarah looked at the box on the table. What if I go and it's terrible? What if I'm too angry? What if? Then at least you'll know. At least you'll have tried. She wiped her eyes. Will you come with me? Of course. Anytime. When? Whenever you're ready. Sarah took a shaky breath. I need time. You have time. Just not forever. She nodded. We sat back down, finished our tea. Sarah opened one of the letters. Read it, then another. By the end of the hour, she'd read 5. She looked up at me. She never stopped trying. No, she didn't. Like you didn't stop trying with me. I smiled. Like I didn't stop trying. Sarah reached across the table, took my hand. Thank you. For not giving up on me. For finding her. For everything. That's what family does. 2 days later, Sarah called me. Her voice was steady. I want to go see her. Can we go this weekend? Yes. Will David come too? If you want him to. I do. I want Tommy to meet her. Before it's too late. A knot formed in my throat. She'd be honored. That Saturday, we drove 2 hours north, all 4 of us, Sarah in the passenger seat, David driving, Tommy in the back with me. Sarah held the box of letters in her lap, knuckles white the whole way. 2 days later, we drove to that small town together. Sarah's hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and I knew, whatever happened next would change her forever. We pulled up to Helen's house just after noon. Sarah sat in the car, staring at the front door. Tommy was asleep in his car seat. David turned off the engine. Nobody moved. I'm scared, Sarah said. I know. What if I say the wrong thing? There's no wrong thing. She looked at me. What if I can't forgive her? You don't have to. Not today. You just have to show up. Sarah took a breath, opened her door. David stayed in the car with Tommy. Sarah and I walked to the front door together. I knocked. Helen opened the door before I could knock. She saw Sarah, went completely still. Sarah, she whispered. Tears streamed down Helen's face. Sarah stood there, frozen, like she'd been at her own front door weeks ago. Then Helen started crying. You came. Sarah's voice was small. I came. Helen stepped back. Let us in. The 3 of us sat in the living room, tea on the table, nobody touched it. Helen looked older than when I'd visited. Thinner, more tired. But her eyes were bright, fixed on Sarah. "You look just like your mother." Sarah flinched. "I'm sorry," Helen said quickly. "I shouldn't have." "No," Sarah's voice cracked. "It's okay. I do look like her. People used to tell me that all the time. She was beautiful." Sarah looked down at her hands. "I don't remember much about her anymore, just pieces. The way she smelled, her laugh." "I remember," Helen said softly. Sarah looked up. "I remember everything about her. Your father talked about her every day, even after we married, especially after we married." "You weren't jealous?" Helen smiled. Sad smile. "How could I be jealous of someone who loved you so much, who gave you life?" "But you threw her things away." Helen shook her head. "I didn't. Your father did. I tried to stop him, but he couldn't look at them without falling apart." Sarah was quiet. "I wanted to keep them for you," Helen said. "I tried to hide some things, but he found them. Said it was too painful." "I blamed you," Sarah whispered. "I know. And I understood. You needed someone to blame, and I was there. I was terrible to you. You were a child. A grieving child." Helen reached across the coffee table, didn't touch Sarah, just held her hand out. Sarah looked at that hand, weathered, thin, shaking slightly. Then she took it. They sat like that, holding hands, crying. I stood up quietly, went to the kitchen, gave them space. Through the doorway, I could hear them talking, soft voices, 20 years of silence finally breaking. After a while, Helen called me back in. She was holding a small wooden box. "I have something for you," she said to Sarah. "Your father gave it to me before he died. He wanted you to have it." She opened the box. Inside was a silver necklace, a small moon pendant. "This was your mother's." Sarah's hands shook as she took it. I thought it was lost. I kept it safe, waiting, hoping. Sarah held the necklace to her chest. "There's something else," Helen said. She pulled out a journal. Old, leather-bound. This was hers too. She wrote in it every day, up until the end. Sarah opened it, saw her mother's handwriting. She started reading, then stopped, looked up at Helen with tears streaming down her face. "What is it?" I asked. Sarah's voice broke. "The last entry. It's to me." She read out loud. "Sarah, my beautiful girl, live fully, love deeply. Don't be afraid. And remember, the people who love you aren't trying to replace anyone. They're just trying to love you the best way they know how." Helen was crying too. She knew she was dying. She wanted you to know it was okay to let people in. Sarah closed the journal, set it down carefully. Then she moved to the couch where Helen Saturday put her arms around her. "I'm sorry. For everything. For cutting you off. For wasting so much time." Helen held her. "You're here now. That's all that matters." They stayed like that for a long time. David came in with Tommy. The boy was shy at first, but Helen smiled at him. "You must be Tommy." Tommy nodded. "Your great-grandmother would have loved you. And your grandmother here," she pointed at Sarah. "She's a lot like her mother. Strong, beautiful, stubborn." Tommy giggled. We stayed for dinner. Helen made sandwiches. Her hands shook, but she wouldn't let us help. "This is the first time in 15 years I've had family at my table," she said. "Let me enjoy it." That evening, when we left, Sarah hugged Helen at the door. "Can I come back next week?" Helen's eyes filled. "I'd like that very much." We drove home in the dark. Sarah wore the necklace. The journal sat in her lap. She was quiet the whole way, but it was a different kind of quiet. Not the silence of anger, the silence of peace. 3 days later, David called me early in the morning. His voice was shaking. "Mom, Helen passed away last night, in her sleep, peaceful. The hospice nurse said she was smiling." Sarah's voice in the background. "Crying, but not the desperate kind. The kind that means goodbye. We're going up there now. Can you come?" "I'm on my way." Helen died 3 days after Sarah came back to her. 3 days after 15 years of waiting. But she didn't die alone. She didn't die wondering. She died knowing she was forgiven. And sometimes, that's enough. The funeral was small, just us. a few of Helen's neighbors, people who'd known her but never knew she had a daughter. Sarah planned everything, chose the flowers, white roses, like the ones in Helen's garden. At the service, she stood at the front, held the journal, didn't open it. Her voice was steady. I didn't know Helen the way I should have. I was 9 when she came into my life, and I was angry, so angry I couldn't see past my own pain. She paused. I spent 15 years punishing her for loving my father, for trying to love me. And she spent 15 years waiting, writing letters I never read, keeping my mother's things safe, hoping I'd come back. Sarah's voice cracked. She died 3 days after I finally did. 3 days. That's all we got. But in those 3 days, she gave me everything. My mother's necklace, her journal, and the truth about what really happened. Sarah touched the necklace at her throat. Helen taught me something I should have learned a long time ago. That love isn't about replacing anyone. It's about making room. And she made room for me, even when I gave her nothing back. She looked at me then. At David, at Tommy. I don't want to waste any more time. I don't want anyone I love to die wondering if I cared. She set the journal down. Helen, I'm sorry it took me so long, but I'm grateful I made it back before it was too late. Rest well. After the service, we stood by the grave. Tommy held a white rose. Sarah helped him place it on the casket. Is she with my great-grandma now? Tommy asked. Sarah nodded. Yes. I think she is. The next week, Sarah called me. Can you come over for dinner this Saturday? We're having some people. Of course. When I arrived, there were cars I didn't recognize. Sarah's friends from the neighborhood. People I'd seen at Tommy's birthday party. The one where I wasn't welcome. My stomach tightened. But Sarah opened the door, smiled, really smiled. Come in, Mom. The living room was full, maybe 8 or 9 people. Conversation stopped when I walked in. Sarah took my hand, led me to the center of the room. Everyone, she said. Her voice shook. I want to say something. The room went quiet. For a long time, I told myself I was protecting my family. But the truth is, I was just afraid of not being enough, afraid of losing control. And in trying to protect what I had, I hurt someone who only ever wanted to love us. She turned to me. Mom, I'm sorry. For the birthday. For the words. For every time I shut you out. You didn't deserve that. Her voice broke. Tears ran down her face. The room stayed silent. Then Sarah did something I didn't expect. She walked to the side table, picked up an envelope, came back to me. This is yours. I should have done this when Tommy was born. I opened it. Legal papers, guardianship documents. Sarah had put my name down as Tommy's legal guardian, second to her and David. If anything happens to us, you'll have full rights to Tommy. Not because we have to, because we want to. Because you're his grandmother. And that means everything. I held the papers. My hands shook. Looked at David. He nodded. Eyes wet. I couldn't speak. Sarah wasn't done. There's something else. She took my hand, led me outside. On the front of the house, next to the address, was a new sign. The Miller Johnson home. My maiden name, Johnson, added to theirs. This is your home too, Sarah said. I want everyone to know that. I touched the sign, cold metal under my fingers. Then Sarah led me back inside, down the hall. She stopped at the door next to Tommy's room, the one that used to be storage. She opened it. The walls were painted soft blue. There was a bed, a desk by the window, fresh flowers on the nightstand. And on the door, a small wooden sign, Grandma's room. This is yours, Sarah said. Anytime you want to stay, anytime you need to be here, you're always welcome. I walked in, sat on the bed, looked around. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Sarah sat next to me. I wish I'd done this years ago. We have time now. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We sat like that for a while, quiet. Then Tommy ran in, jumped on the bed. Grandma, this is your room. Can you stay tonight? I looked at Sarah. She nodded. Yes, sweetheart, I can stay. That night, I slept in that small blue room, in my grandson's house, in the home that now had my name on it. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I belonged. The weekend after the funeral, Sarah called. "Can you come over tomorrow? We want to do something." "What is it?" "A surprise. But bring your gardening gloves." I arrived Sunday morning. Sarah, David, and Tommy were in the backyard. There was a small tree in a pot, white rose bush, not blooming yet, but healthy, strong. Tommy ran to me. "Grandma, we're planting a tree." I looked at Sarah. She was wearing the necklace. The silver moon caught the sunlight. "For Helen," she said, "and for my mom, for the women who shaped us." David had already dug the hole. Good soil, right amount of Sunday. "Tommy, you want to help?" Sarah asked. "Yes." We worked together. Sarah and I lifted the tree from the pot. Tommy held the roots steady while David filled in the soil. "Careful, Tommy. Gentle. Like this? Perfect." When the tree was planted, we stood back, looked at it. Small, fragile, but alive. "One day," Sarah said, "this tree will be taller than all of us. And Tommy, you'll remember. You'll remember the day we planted it, and why." Tommy looked up at her. "For great-grandma Helen?" "Yes. And for your great-great-grandmother too. The one you never met, the one I barely remember." "But we're remembering her now," I said. Sarah nodded. "We are." David put his arm around Sarah. Around me. We stood there, 3 generations, hands still dirty from the soil. Tommy touched the thin trunk. "Will it have flowers?" "Next spring," David said. "White roses, just like the ones at Helen's house." "I'll water it every day," Tommy said. "You don't have to every day," I said, "but often, and talk to it, plants like that." "Talk to it?" "Tell it about your day, about school, about us. It'll grow stronger." Tommy nodded seriously. "Okay, I'll tell it everything." Sarah looked at me. Her eyes were wet. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For showing me this. How to make peace with the past. How to honor people without being buried by grief." I reached over, took her hand. "You did this yourself. I just reminded you it was possible." We stood there as the sun moved higher. Tommy ran inside to get water for the tree. David followed him. Sarah and I stayed. She touched the necklace at her throat. "I read the whole journal last night. Every entry. And? She loved me so much, even when she knew she was dying. She wasn't afraid. She just wanted me to be happy. She'd be proud of you now." Sarah looked at the tree, at the house, at the blue room window where I'd slept. "I hope so. I hope they both are." The tree was small, but it had roots now, deep in the ground, connected to everything beneath it. Like us. Finally connected. Finally home. A month after Helen's funeral, Sarah started seeing a therapist. She told me on the phone. Her voice was quiet. "I need help, real help, not just apologies and good intentions." I think that's very brave. "Will you come? To a session? With me and David?" "Of course." The following week, the 3 of us sat in a small office, comfortable chairs, soft lighting. A woman named Dr. Roberts sat across from us. She was maybe 50. Kind eyes, calm voice. "Thank you for coming," she said. "Family therapy can be difficult, but it's important work." She looked at Sarah. "Sarah, why don't you start? What brought you here?" Sarah's hands twisted together. "I hurt people I love. I pushed away my mother-in-law for 3 years. I cut off my stepmother for 15 years, and I almost lost both of them forever." Dr. Roberts nodded. "What are you most afraid of?" Sarah was quiet for a long time. Then, losing control, being abandoned, not being enough. "When did these fears start?" "When my mom died. I was 9. One day she was there, then she was in the hospital, then she was gone. Nobody asked me what I wanted. Nobody told me it was okay to be scared. A year later, my dad remarried. This woman came into our house, changed everything, and I thought, she's trying to erase my mother. She's trying to replace her." Dr. Roberts looked at me, at David. "How did these fears show up in your relationship with Margaret?" Sarah's voice cracked. "I saw her as a threat, another person who might take something from me. Tommy's love, my role as his mother, my family. So I controlled everything. made everything perfect, kept her at a distance. Dr. Roberts turned to me. Margaret, how did that feel? Like I was being erased too, like I'd become invisible. But I told myself I was respecting boundaries, that I was being understanding. The truth is, I was just accepting being treated as less than family. Dr. Roberts nodded. David, you've been quiet. David looked down at his hands. I should have said something. I saw what was happening, but I didn't want to choose between my wife and my mother, so I chose silence. Which meant you chose Sarah, Dr. Roberts said gently. By not speaking up, you were agreeing with her. David's eyes filled. I know. I'm sorry, Mom. I should have been braver. I reached over, took his hand. Dr. Roberts leaned forward. Here's what I'm hearing. Sarah, you were a child who experienced profound loss and never got to grieve properly. You developed control as a survival mechanism. Margaret, you're someone who gives and gives until you disappear. You mistake silence for peace. David, you avoid conflict even when silence causes harm. She paused. But you're all here now, doing the hard work. That matters. She looked at Sarah. Sarah, what do you need from Margaret and David? Sarah wiped her eyes. I need to know it's okay to not be perfect, that they'll still love me even when I'm messy, even when I'm scared. Dr. Roberts looked at me. Margaret? I looked at Sarah. You don't have to be perfect for me to love you. You never did. I see you, Sarah. I see how hard you try. And it's enough. You're enough. Sarah started crying. Not quiet tears, real crying. David moved to sit beside her, put his arm around her. I've got you, he said. We both do. Dr. Roberts let the moment sit. Then she said, this is what healing looks like. Not perfect, not easy, but real. We sat there together. 3 people who'd hurt each other. 3 people learning how to love better. It wasn't the end of the work. But it was a beginning. A real one. The months that followed weren't perfect. Sarah had bad days. Days when the fear came back, when she wanted to control everything again. But she caught herself faster now. Called me sometimes. Mom, I'm spiraling. Can you just talk to me? And I did. We went back to Dr. Roberts every other week. Sometimes it was hard. Sometimes Sarah cried. Sometimes David got defensive. Sometimes I had to admit things I'd been hiding even from myself. But we kept going. Tommy started 1st grade. On the first day, Sarah called me. Can you come? For pickup? I want you there. I drove to the school, waited with the other grandparents and parents. When Tommy came out, he ran to Sarah first, then to me. Grandma, I learned about the solar system. Tell me everything. We walked to the car together. Sarah's hand found mine. Thank you for being here, she said. Where else would I be? The white rose tree grew taller, still no blooms, but stronger, thicker trunk, deep green leaves. Tommy watered it every few days, told it about school, about his friends, about the book he was reading. I watched him one afternoon from the kitchen window. Sarah stood beside me. He talks to it like you said, like it's listening. Maybe it is. She smiled. Maybe. I started staying over more, not every week, but often enough that my things had a permanent place in the blue room. Slippers by the bed, books on the nightstand, photos on the dresser. One Saturday, Sarah asked if I wanted to help her clean out the garage. We found boxes from when David was little. Baby clothes, report cards, drawings. Sarah held up a crayon picture. Stick figures. Me, David, and my husband. You saved everything, she said. I wanted to remember. She looked at me. I'm doing that now, with Tommy, taking pictures, writing things down. I don't want blank pages anymore. Good. We worked in comfortable silence, sorting, laughing at old things, remembering. At dinner that night, David asked, "What's everyone grateful for today?" Tommy said, "My teacher didn't give us homework." David said, "That Tommy's teacher didn't give homework." Sarah said, "Being able to call my mom when I need her." She looked at me when she said it. I said, "Being called." Simple moments like that became normal. Sunday dinners, Tommy's soccer games, helping Sarah fold laundry while we talked. The house that once felt like a museum became a home. Not perfect, Toys on the floor, dishes in the sink, shoes by the door. Signs of living. I came over one afternoon, let myself in with my key, called out. Nobody answered. I found them in the backyard. Sarah and Tommy sitting by the tree, just sitting, quiet. I almost turned to leave, give them privacy. But Tommy saw me. Grandma, come sit. I walked over, sat down in the grass with them. What are you doing? Just being here, Sarah said, with the tree, thinking about the people who came before us. She touched the necklace at her throat, the one she wore every day now. I think they'd be happy, seeing us like this. I think so too. We sat there as the afternoon light turned gold. 3 generations, by a tree that would outlive us all. And for the first time in a very long time, there was nowhere else I wanted to be. 2 years later, my birthday fell on a Saturday. I didn't expect anything special. Birthdays at my age were just another day. But there was a knock at my door that morning. Tommy stood there. He was 7 now. Taller, missing a front tooth. Grandma, you have to come over. We have a surprise. I got my coat, drove to their house. Inside, there were balloons, not many, just a few. And a small cake on the kitchen table. Sarah came out from the backyard, smiled when she saw me. Happy birthday, Mom. You didn't have to do this. Yes, we did. David was there. Linda, from next door. A couple of Sarah's friends I'd gotten to know over the past 2 years. Small gathering. Comfortable. We had cake. Tommy told me about his 2nd grade teacher. About the book he was reading. About how the rose tree in the backyard finally had flowers. White roses. Just like we'd hoped. After everyone else left, Sarah asked me to stay. There's something I want to give you. She handed me a package, wrapped carefully. Tommy had drawn on the paper, flowers and stick figures. I opened it. A photo album. New one. Leather-bound. Beautiful. I opened the first page. There was a photo of me and Tommy in the kitchen. Flour on our hands, laughing. I remembered that day. We'd made cookies together, burned the first batch. Under the photo, Sarah had written in her handwriting, "The day you taught Tommy that mistakes are just part of learning." I turned the page. Another photo. 3 generations standing by the rose tree. It was small then, just planted. The caption, "The day we planted roots together." More pages, more photos. Me sleeping in a chair while Tommy napped against my shoulder. Tommy's first soccer game. Me in the stands, cheering. The 4 of us at dinner. Just a regular Tuesday night. My blue room, my slippers by the bed, my books on the table. Each photo had a note from Sarah. The day Tommy asked if you could read him bedtime stories. The afternoon we talked about Mom while doing dishes. The morning you showed up just because you wanted to see us. I got to the last page. A photo of me alone, sitting on their porch, sunlight coming through the trees. I looked peaceful. And beneath it, Sarah had written, "To Mom, you taught me that family isn't perfect, it's persistent. Thank you for not giving up on us. Love, Sarah, David, and Tommy." She looked at the box, held it to her chest. Sarah sat down next to me. "The old album sits at your house, the one with 3 years of blank pages. I didn't want that anymore. I wanted you to see what you gave us, what you give us every day." I couldn't speak. Tommy climbed up on the couch, squeezed between us. "Do you like it, Grandma?" "I love it, sweetheart." "Are there pictures of me?" "So many pictures of you." Sarah put her arm around me, around Tommy. We sat there, looking at the album together, page by page. Every photo a moment I'd been there for, a moment I'd been wanted, a moment I belonged. Not because I was useful, not because they needed me, but because I was family. And family shows up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I thought about that old album at my house, the blank pages. This one was full. And so was I. A few weeks after my birthday, something arrived in the mail. A letter, handwritten address, no return name, just a city I recognized. I opened it at my kitchen table, the one by the window where light comes through every morning. Inside was a letter and a photograph. The photo was old, the colors faded, but I knew the faces. My husband and David. David was maybe 6 or 7 in the picture. They were at a park, both smiling. My husband had his arm around our son. I hadn't seen this photo before. The letter was short. Dear Margaret, I was going through old boxes and found this. Thought you might want it. Your husband was my best friend. We lost touch after he got sick, and I've regretted that ever since. I heard through mutual friends that David got married, had a son. I hope you're doing well. Your husband talked about you all the time, about how hard you worked, how much you sacrificed, how you held everything together when he couldn't. He'd be so proud of the woman you are, and the grandmother you became. Take care, Robert Chen. I read the letter twice. Then I looked at the photo again. Really looked. My husband's face, younger than my memories of him, healthy, before the sickness took him. And David, so small, looking up at his father like he was the whole world. Those years came back, the hard ones, working 2 jobs, hospital visits, the nights without sleep. The meals skipped so David could eat. The dreams put away so he could have his. My husband held my hand even when he was too weak to speak, made me promise to take care of David, to not give up. The promise stayed kept. And now David had a family, a son, a life, and a place for me in it. The mantel held the new photo album, the one Sarah gave me. The old photo joined it, my husband and David, past and present, side by side. A breeze came through the window, gentle, warm, like an answer. I whispered, I hope I made you proud. The breeze moved the curtains. I chose to believe that meant yes. That evening, I did something I'd never done before. I set 3 candles on my dining table, small white ones, simple. The house was quiet, just me and the fading light through the window. I lit the first candle. For the past, for my husband, for the hard years, for the losses, for the doors that slammed, for the birthday I stood on the porch alone. For everything that hurt but made me who I am. The flame caught, flickered, steadied itself. I lit the second candle. For the present, for Sarah, for David, for Tommy, for Linda next door, for the blue room with my name on the door, for Sunday dinners, for the tree that finally bloomed, for being wanted, not just needed. The flame grew brighter, warmer. I lit the third candle. For the future, for Tommy growing up, for the lessons he'll carry, for the people who'll come after us, for the tree that will stand long after I'm gone. 3 flames, dancing in the quiet, casting soft shadows on the walls. I sat down, watched them. The past didn't burn out, the present didn't fade, the future didn't flicker and die. They all stayed lit, together. The wax melted slowly. The room smelled like warm wax and peace. Everything that brought me here lived in those flames. The rejection, the silence, the 25 missed calls, the choice to stay kind when I wanted to disappear. The decision to show up even when I wasn't invited. Not because everything was perfect, but because everything was enough. The candles burned steady. I sat there until they'd burned halfway down. Then I blew them out, one by one, smoke curling up toward the ceiling. But the light didn't leave. It stayed in me. And I knew, neither would I. Not from their lives, not anymore. I was staying, as long as they'd have me. And maybe even after that, in the tree, in the stories, in the love that persists. One Sunday afternoon, Tommy and I sat on the porch at their house. He was doing homework, I was reading, comfortable silence. He looked up. Grandma, what's the most important thing you learned? I thought about it, really thought. That love isn't loud, it's patient. He scrunched his nose. What does that mean? It means sometimes the people we love hurt us, but if we stay kind, if we keep showing up, love finds a way back. Tommy pulled out a small notebook, started writing. What are you doing? Writing it down. I want to remember this. He wrote carefully. Tongue stuck out in concentration. There, he said. Now I won't forget. I smiled. Good. The years kept moving, not fast, but steady. I got older, slower. My knees complained more. My hands weren't as steady. But I was still there, still showing up. Sarah became my best friend. Not just my daughter-in-law, my friend. We talked almost every day. About everything. About nothing. David became the son I'd always hoped he would be. Present, honest, kind. And Tommy. Tommy grew up surrounded by love, 3 generations of it. One afternoon, I sat on that same porch. The white rose tree had grown tall, taller than me now, blooming every spring. Sarah sat down next to me. "I'm glad you didn't give up on us," she said. "I couldn't. Your family. You taught me what that means." We sat in comfortable quiet. Then Sarah said, "Tommy asked me yesterday if he could bring a friend over, a boy from school. His grandmother just passed away." "Oh, the poor child." Tommy said, "Maybe Grandma can be his grandma too. She has enough love for everyone." My eyes filled. "Of course he can bring him." Sarah smiled. "I knew you'd say that." The next week, Tommy brought his friend. Quiet boy, sad eyes. We baked cookies together. I let him lick the spoon, just like I did with Tommy. He smiled for the first time that afternoon. After that, other people started coming. Mothers from the neighborhood, women I'd seen at the grocery store, at Tommy's school. They'd knock on my door, ask if I had a minute. I always did. They told me about their struggles, their mother-in-laws, their daughters-in-law, their fear of being pushed away, their guilt about pushing others away. I listened, didn't judge, just listened. Then I'd share my story. Not the glossy version, the real one. The door that slammed, the 25 missed calls, the glass I threw in the sink. The choice I made to stay kind anyway. They'd leave a little lighter, a little more hopeful. One woman said, "You make it sound so simple." I shook my head. It wasn't simple. It was the hardest thing I ever did. But it was worth it. Every moment of waiting, every moment of doubt, worth it. Now, sitting here on this porch with Sarah, watching the tree sway in the breeze, I understood something. This is what we leave behind. Not perfection, but persistence. Not answers, but presence. Not the times we got it right, but the times we kept trying even when we got it wrong. The tree would outlive me. Tommy would grow up, have his own family one day, and maybe he'd remember the grandmother who showed up, who waited, who loved without demanding love back. Maybe he'd teach his children the same thing. That love isn't loud, it's patient, it's persistent, and it always, always finds a way back. I looked at Sarah, at the tree, at the house with my name on the sign, at the life I almost gave up on, and I thought, this is enough, more than enough. This is everything. Thanks for listening to my story. If it touched you, I hope you'll share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes, the bravest thing we do is not give up on love, even when love gives up on us first. And sometimes, just sometimes, it finds its way back.